Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choice. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
And this found the next guaranteed multiplier.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out. Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on Bitcoin at 45K. 2024 would be our year and we think it would be 100x from here.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check and it's gone.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Johnny, how you doing?
Hey, everybody. Now we do good, and you?
Not bad, not bad.
I'm in my tent today.
Looks beautiful.
I've been camping and tried to escape the cold, wet weather from my city.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, we gotta move south someday, man.
Yeah, that has to be the goal.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
Once the salt takes off, we're heading south. All right.
I think it's good motivation, right?
There's nothing better, to be honest.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
Oh, 100 times from here for sure.
You're gonna do that bet, right?
There's got to be a ETF where you can buy options, right? We should just buy all options here.
Yeah.
You know, because I bet it'll 100 times in the next month or two. So we can just do pretty much like, you know, like by the end of the week, we'll just put all our money into that. I think that'll take off.
Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds like a great idea.
But I checked it out, like both the ETF or whatever it is, the one that tracked Bitcoin and Bitcoin, it has quickly gotten from like 15K to where it is today, like around 40.
Yeah, I mean, I follow some of them on my my dashboard here, but I feel like it's always all over the place.
It's all over the place. It's definitely very different style than what we are talking about in the stream.
Yeah, here, I want to just make it so this actually keeps going over here. Yeah. Buy at the lows, you know? Buy low, sell high. That's for sure.
Or at 45K. That's where we come in.
True. But, yeah, guys, don't listen. We're just being idiots.
Like always.
Yeah, like always. What's moving? Oil's a little up. Natural gas. I saw natural gas is moving.
Yeah.
Did you see that? What was the two big companies? Two big companies were possibly merging. They're like two of the biggest natural gas producers I saw. I can't remember.
Okay.
It was on Wall Street Journal. I remember seeing.
All right. I didn't see that.
Hold on. Let me just see if I can. Either way, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a little big for probably what you and I would be looking at, but but I think I saw the one was up like 7%, the other one was up like 4%. So big merger. I think it said it would be like $17 billion or something like that for the companies.
Okay.
So that's if you're someone who's read Joel Greenblatt and talk about special situations, that's probably a decent merger to be looking at. I'm sure it might be a little late now. I'm sure it's probably already priced in, but it's also on the rumor, so sometimes it's either higher or lower than where it should be. But I from what I read is it sounds like once one of those things start to go through, at this point it would be highly unlikely that it still wouldn't go through. So who knows?
But interesting though that like two big players merged. That's a big deal in a space.
Yeah, I mean, to see what it's done to natural gas here, I mean, you can see. I mean, hold on, let me go to a shorter chart. It's definitely been bullish. I mean, you're talking. It was just a month ago at 230. Now it's future. This is continuous contracts. This chart. So. I mean, RSI was literally undersold, and it's almost oversold in this month of period of time. So,
yeah, that's a big move.
Yeah, it is a big move. But yeah, I mean, look like overall the markets this week, kind of a down week coming off a December high. I mean, I feel like December was like super bullish. So I think it's probably just more of a healthy pullback. I think it looked like tech was in the tech always overly affects everything.
Yeah.
But some of the companies, the smaller companies that we've been looking at, I feel like a lot of them have done pretty well. I have taken some positions recently. So pretty excited about that, and they're doing well so far.
Yeah.
Good start.
And we have seen this week that the shipping is going well so far, at least.
Yeah, I actually did a trading play with CTRM, which is Castor Maritime, which I know it's kind of... The management has kind of a sketchy history, and they're selling assets right now, but it's as always, the information comes out of Cyprus, which is most shipping companies, and how accurate things are, it's tough to say. So that's why I did it more as a trading position. And the big news out of that area is just the issue with the Suez Canal, the possible closure. A lot of ships are going all the way around South Africa to instead, so cost of shipping starting to go up, which you can find the chart here. Yesterday wasn't like the biggest day, but I mean, look at this chart. I mean, this is another one that's just skyrocketed, and that's 3-year weekly. So I mean, this is 5-year weekly, so we're almost reaching all-time highs. So very bullish.
Look at the bottom there, where it pulled back a little bit from the November bottom.
Yeah,
that's pretty good sign that it stopped there and went all the way or again.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these gap ups, this is. I mean, I'm not a technical analyst, but I understand the basics. And these gaps, this is super bullish, super bullish.
Yeah.
But granted, nice. I mean, this is so I'm just looking at Maersk just because that's how it's an easy way to track it, but or shipping in general. But yeah, so I just took kind of a trading position in CTRM, which I'm not trying to shoot for any kind of crazy gain. I figured I could just capture a little bit of that news event. We'll see. I'm still in it. I'm not. I have my position hasn't sold, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But as always, if you're ever going to do a trading type position like that, where you're kind of going off just some news or something changing in the environment, CTRM was one of the ones I was looking at that just to me was super cheap based on net asset value. But like I said, it's a little risky because they kind of he started with one ship, the guy who started the company, and then he's bought like a bunch over the past few years, but pretty much lost money on all of them. So it's him selling them back. And my big question is always, is that money going to come back to shareholders, or is he doing something sketchy and just going to try and take all of it? Who knows? Which is why for me I can't do much more than a trading position on it because I'm not super confident on that kind of a play. But either way, but I think we could probably bounce right into some fundamentals. I still have a few tickers left from the week. Do you wanna start there?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, sounds good. And this is more me just trying to follow some of the news on some of these things. This is ORGN, which I've looked at in the past. I feel like a somewhat relatively well-known company for its size, but it's a carbon negative materials company. It's developed a platform for turning carbon found in non-food biomass into useful materials while capturing carbon in the process. It replaces petroleum-based materials with decarbonized materials in a range of end products such as food and beverage packaging, blah, 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 a bunch of different things. So it's basically trying to convert that, environmentally more stable, renewable, that kind of thing. That's kind of what their goal is. So some of my data is not perfect on here, so I don't know why in Seeking Alpha some of this isn't pulling
I
through.
see my data is also a bit messed up, but only the revenue actually.
Yeah.
But I have for the last year.
Yeah, and I think the part of the reason why I'm not getting much numbers here is just because it's saying for me the revenue. I mean, they're just starting to generate revenues now, so
Yeah, okay.
It's still young though. It's hard to value something like this. My fair calculation gets about $1.25 currently.
Yeah.
But
there
cash
was a
flow is
big drop in August.
Yeah, cash flow has been negative the whole time. Honestly, if this takes a little bit into account the all-time highs, so if that wasn't there, I feel like that might be down a little bit. But either way, it's sitting on cash. I mean, that's the one thing it has going for itself. But it's burning cash really fast. So this is one of those companies too that when you're looking at, you're just trying to figure out, how quickly can they become profitable. Essentially, they do have earnings, which is impressive for the fact that are they just taking on debt or diluting? Is that all that is? Like, I don't understand how they have any kind of earnings.
I'm just reading through some Seeking Alpha because I saw on the chart there was a massive drop in August 2023, and it seems like that is due to just guided the worse outlook for them.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what,
faces lower profit, higher capex.
I mean, look at this. I mean, their cash is just flying out. So they're burning through all the equity already, and they're going to have to take on debt or dilute shareholders further. And there's already 144 million shares. And now they're at risk of delisting with that price. So this isn't a great rate environment to be taking on a ton of debt,
No.
Are they?
What do you have for book value?
I'm sorry.
What do you have for book value?
I have $2.95 a share right now.
Yeah, I have similar.
And I mean, so this is the thing. This is ranking this as safe. But the problem is you can do some real simple math here. Let's look at the cash here, guys. You can see 460, 103, 66. So even if we did the same thing and we diluted the same amount here, yes, the amount's going down. So obviously they're generating a little bit more, but they're still losing. I mean, look at this last quarter. They lost 63 million in cash flow from operations. They're spending a lot in capex. So the one thing you can argue, and this is kind of always where you have to start to understand the business. Like, you can learn all this from the fundamentals, but then you know that now I need to know what I'm looking for, and you can see that they're spending all this on capex, which is why the free cash flow has gotten so bad. But can they start to turn that into revenues and earnings? I mean, like I said, this is the first time they had some revenues, but 16 million is not that impressive, especially when you're burning. So far, what's this total here? They burnt $283 million. And they only got 66 million left, and they're gonna have to do something, because if the company's not generating free cash flow, those earnings are gonna get evaporated soon. So now it's seeing what that capex is and how that's gonna translate into future revenues and earnings. I'll see what
I think they need to do something pretty quickly here to turn this around.
Oh, it's a time crunch.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at this. You got all these guys just selling and down here too. It's not even like they're. I mean, there's two purchases back in what was this, August and September, but
yeah. So they bought after that big drop, though.
Yeah, but I mean that just shows to me like if these are directors, why are you buying if you have no good news coming out? You think the stock's going to react positively?
Yeah.
I don't know. Doesn't look great to me. How's the chart here looking? You said there's that big drop. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that beautiful gap. See, just talking gaps. This is bearish.
And also the selling volume that day.
Yeah. I picture this trending quite a bit lower. But I just got to dive a little bit more into seeing, because if you're trying to become carbon, if you're a company that's converting things like that, then obviously it depends on what companies you're working with, what your contracts are, and the efficiency of your business. Those are the things I feel like that would lead to being profitable. So let's jump over and just see what people are saying. Hang on, it's just refreshing real quick. Did you pull up Seeking Alpha yet?
Yeah, I'm reading through some of the comments, and it's a bit mixed. Like you have some people that believe in them, and some people that don't. But so it's not so valuable here. But they are talking about the same stuff that we do. That there were some insider buys after that big drop, and that they are spending a lot of money to get in a position where they can start to grow. And maybe that's what you have seen a little bit with the revenue and everything like that. But I think this is where you have to go into maybe the press releases and check out the management and all that, what they have said.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they are trying some things, but I mean, it's all bearish things that they're trying. Like they announced a 30% reduction in workforce.
Yeah, I'm reading that too.
Yeah, so
it doesn't look good, and they will have to take debt, I guess, to be able to do something here.
Yeah, it obviously it doesn't. Nothing bodes well. See,
No.
And that's what I'm saying. So they secured partnerships with major companies like Ford, Pepsi, Nestle. Yeah. So this is the question. I mean, I would want to read through the transcript and see what management's saying in terms of how they're going to get this working quicker, because
there's a comment saying management is a train wreck until they fire Bissell. This dumpster fire is heading south. So other people that follow them has not been impressed by them, it looks like. But I don't see anything about some asset sales or something like that when they have, because I went to the 10Q and they have 230 million in property, plant and equipment. So I guess maybe they are not thinking about selling off some assets to raise cash.
Yeah, I mean, this John Reno guy, I mean, he's someone who's saying that, just out of altruism, he's trying to save the environment and like needs these kind of companies to succeed, which I agree with. But at the same time, too, I'm not investing in a company that's going to just take your money and not come up with a solution. It's one thing, to try and be environmentally friendly, but if you can't do it in a productive way, no, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter. Like, people don't buy things that don't work.
Yeah, it don't. And we talked a little bit about that last time, right? When we talked about the EVs, I think it was that it's not a simple solution, and companies that doesn't find a way to make money, they won't survive. Even if the intentions are very good and something we need, it's very simplistic to just use that as a thing that they will make it.
Yeah. All right. So I don't think I need much more to look at here. No. I had said last time, it just kind of needed more, but I'm going to take this one off on deck for me. It's starting to look a little bleaker. I don't think there's a ton of chance for this to turn around. What I am gonna label this in is it's in need of a turnaround right now.
Yeah.
I had rated it to give it at about 72 cents, and a buy would be at 48. So same thing. I kind of had already taken into account the fact that I thought this was going to keep shrinking for quite a while. I don't know if I'm going to change
And I think
that.
the thing that does it for me in this company, when you have these risks that we are seeing, the lack of history is not a confidence boost in my strategy of doing things here. Because how can you look at the history of the management when you only have a little bit to go off? It's very hard.
Yeah. I just think I'll put poor narrative and poor management as well, because they've already burnt a lot of cash, and they really haven't done anything to kind of take advantage of what's going on here. So pretty bearish on this one.
Just quickly, didn't that one guy talk about some? No.
I just want to take a real quick check at what the debt is.
Yeah, that was what I was about to say, because I checked FINRA, but they were not there. What is that? Notes payable or?
Earnout liability, some research liability, assumed common stock warrants, operating leases. It doesn't look like they actually have like debt per se. It's all these other things.
They have warrants.
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying but those are to be turned into common stock. You know, it's like assumed common stock warrants.
Yeah.
So as of now, they don't really have like notes. Well, what are these notes payable? They're small amounts.
Yeah, nothing too big here.
But still, like we were saying, I really think they're going to have to take on some serious debt, because this cash it's going to come to an end here.
Yeah, or sell assets, but that's something I'm not sure if they're going to do, and something, if you want to follow this, something you should look into. What are the options for them to raise quick cash, because they're going to need that.
Yeah, and then the other thing that's this net income is shrinking. And I see this stock-based compensation. How are you compensating right now? Like, what?
Yeah, true. Have we checked them? If some of the comments are a bit negative towards the management.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check the ownership in the D filing.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I'm gonna move on to Xerox, because I don't think there's much else. This one's it's got a ways to go, I think.
Yeah, but I agree. We don't need to spend more time on it. I'm not adding this to the tracker right now.
Yeah, it's not that I don't think this one could turn around. It's just like it's looking a little slow. You know, I wonder how much time they have before it starts to run out of steam here. So this would be like a real late turnaround. And I mean, you can see it's trading, pretty low to book and everything. But this book is, I know it's gone up the past few years, but I don't really think it's I'm gonna substantiate into anything. I mean, just this cash burn here is killer.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking from the free cash flow perspective. I'm talking from the business.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if CapEx comes down, that's one thing that they could possibly, if they were getting into the position where they're not spending so much on CapEx, it could be that they kind of become at least net neutral. But
yeah, so that would be something to, if you want to track them, you need to update yourself on all that stuff, that the news and how they can start to improve their cash generation and revenues and all.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And see if, I think even if management, if they bought at $1.30 something, and they still believe they can turn it around, you would also want to see some inside buys at these levels, right?
Right.
There was none.
Yeah, I mean, if there was like and it would have to be a substantial buy too, just because there's like before they're spending like $50,000 or something small like that. That doesn't really mean much. It would have to be either someone else gets involved or and I don't know, maybe someone looks at acquiring something like that, because the other thing that they have going is their enterprise value is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Now my enterprise value here, guys, this calculation it gets messed up because the way the data gets pulled in. So don't think that's like super accurate. It's such a quick way for me to look at something and think, is it high or low? Because this number, it gets messed up. So that's probably not the real enterprise value, just as a forewarning.
What do you have there, Dane? Like 30, 38?
I had 38.
Yeah, mine is 41. So we are similar there. So yeah.
But yeah, it just depends, because I think when you go through the actual balance sheet to calculate enterprise value, you can add and subtract quite a bit of things. And my calculator just kind of takes raw numbers and puts them all in and gets the number. So that's why I said it's not super accurate, that enterprise value, which is it's kind of a limitation of the way the data gets pulled in, which is also why I know a lot of people use EBITDA to EV, and I know I can look it up on another like website and stuff. But on mine, it's usually a little off from what's actually going on, so I don't always rely super heavy on that metric in the way the data is pulled in here. I probably could figure it out, but honestly, I don't really care.
The key point is that it's still low.
Right. Not to say that EBITDA to EV isn't like an okay metric, but I just don't care.
Okay, let's move on then. Xerox.
All right, I'm sure everybody knows Xerox. Printers, fax machines, all that nonsense. And then it's kind of becoming an older business now, and it's more icons involved. If you don't know that,
big time too.
What'd you say?
He's very involved, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's owned them for forever,
yeah,
in a large position. But I mean, they're buying shares back. I can see some positive there. Revenues are down, but they also have kind of stabilized here a little bit.
Yeah.
Overall margins are not great right now.
I have capex going down a little bit every year also.
Yeah, what was the big news? Because didn't this move quite a bit this week? I don't know if I even saw what the news was. Yeah, look at this. Look at this chart.
Yeah.
From 12 to 1850, now we're back down to 15.
They are laying off people, 15% of workforce.
Although when you zoom out, it's not as crazy as a move as it sounds, but
hold on, Dane.
What's up?
It says here, Carl Icahn exits Xerox.
Oh, well, there you go.
That was in November.
So that was his big position moving. Yeah, I mean, I guess my big question becomes, what is Xerox doing that's going to become noteworthy in the future? It says a little bit about 3D printing, that kind of thing. But I wonder how much that's actually gonna pan out in terms of being, the old company was such a good company, but just the technology's falling behind. You look at all these metrics, everything is just starting to trail off here.
What do you think about him exiting this, though?
I would say that's pretty bearish.
There are some comments here, a bit funny. Steve is saying, and here I thought Icahn was a much more savvy investor than myself, and that he sells and the stock zooms up. Sounds like a familiar scenario to me.
Well, it provides a lot of liquidity, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you think about it, that could be this jump here. This could be him selling out and then him selling, and people are just buying those shares because he's got to sell out of the position.
Yeah.
This entire move could be
him.
Just him.
Yeah. Could be.
What do you get as a fair price for this?
I don't trust my evaluation that much, so
mine says like 1130, which trends towards the bottom of what the market thinks.
1130, you said?
Yeah.
If you look at their operating cash flow and free cash flow, and you like on the average, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's that crazy. I think around. I think like if I was gonna try and like trade this or something between like 12 and 15 seems kind of where it would bounce around.
Yeah.
Who knows? That's not where my real expertise is. Let's pull up Seeking. Is this what you were looking at before?
You see in the chart since June of 2022, it struggles to break above 20. What do you see on the fundamentals that is attractive though? Because it scores pretty good on some of these metrics that we attention to.
For what?
Like price to sales and price to book and price to free cash flow and all that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear what you're saying. What about it?
What do you see on the fundamentals that you find attractive? Because when I look, I think it's. I've never. I have thought this has been a bit expensive for some time already.
Yeah, it's probably part of the moving. I think there was a big drop in it, which just kind of sometimes clues me in to check things out. It said they did refinance the debt, and they actually basically kept the same terms and just pushed the maturity date back. So that gives them more time, obviously, to try and pivot the business into something more profitable, going forward. So that's not a bad thing. I mean, it is generating cash flow, so a lot of times that'll pop up on my things, and it is on a book value, not tangible, but on a regular book value, I guess you could argue it's below it.
Yeah.
But I think it's more just the name. That's I've looked at it before, so it's sometimes when I pull up a company too, if it's one I've looked at, it might just be that I'm just curious on what's going on.
Yeah. And they are paying down debt, and if they laid off 15% of the workforce now.
Yeah, what are they spending on SG&A here? So that's, if they're going to reduce workforce here, I mean, this is obviously before we'll get to see what the effect of that is, but you could argue that if this margin drops quite a bit, it might be bullish for the business in general.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you take 3 or 4% off here, let's say. Or they said 30% of the workforce, right? Is that what it was?
No, 15.
15. So yeah, you could see like 3 or 4% maybe pop up somewhere else here,
And they will do it in the first quarter this year, so it's happening now.
Yeah, so I think that's probably why you're seeing all this volatility. Besides him getting out, is trying to re-rate this and see where it's going to land. I'm not that much of a numbers guy that I would try and calculate it, but
and it seems like in general they are restructuring and moving people around a little bit in different positions now, so they obviously have found a new path that they are trying to turn this around on, but it remains to see if they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see even on a long chart that 12 seems to be pretty strong resistance. So I would probably keep an eye on this. Maybe next time if I see it break through that number, see what support is and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is maybe check back on this after the Q1 report, see how that's affected things.
Yeah.
But with Icon out, yeah, who knows? Maybe that would leave room for someone else to maybe come in. I don't know who else would want to take on something like this, but Xerox, I mean, it's got a brand name to it too, you know.
Yeah. If you look at the insiders, you can see. I think he sold everything in one transaction.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. that can move the stock. That's probably why that stock price is all over the place.
Yeah.
It said he sold on average though at a price of $15.84. So
yeah,
if we went back to the chart here, let me just go to a shorter chart here. Yeah, so I'm sure this was him getting out in here. And possibly even some of this, I don't know, it could have just been him selling out and then people saying, well, $12 is an all-time low, basically. So, buying just literally off that,
but
probably.
How do you think, because I saw he bought in April. Oh, no, sorry. That was 2022. I thought it was April 2023. So that's a while ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to see what this guy was evaluating this at. Yeah, his target's around $10 or whatever. That's kind of what I was thinking. That's what I would think it was worth. So once again, obviously, if you guys have watched some of the stream before, you'd know that if I think it's rated around $10, I wouldn't even become interested in this until it was way below that. Probably around $6, $7. I know that's a huge discount, but that's what I'm looking for. So,
and I think especially now with Icon out, this. But like you say, you need to pay attention now. Someone else might come in. It seems to me that when he has gone out, they are now starting to do a lot of new things. That they are trying to reorganize the structure there and put new people in new positions.
Yeah, I will say I just realized they're still paying $1 dividend.
Yeah, they do. And if you look at the earnings, it's positive this year, but it was brutal last year.
Yeah.
And that messes up the 3-year average. But if you look at the single years, it has been positive for many, many years.
Right.
And also the cash flow generation is positive, you know. So historically, it's not a bad run company, but
I mean, with now that I see that there's the dividend there, I mean, if you were confident that they were going to keep paying that, which I don't know, I mean, you're paying, that's a pretty big dividend to be paying when the business is starting to slow down this much. I wouldn't think that that's really secure, but I think you could give a little bit more to that. I mean, do I think they're going to keep paying that for a while? Probably not. I think that would continue to go down. And it looks like it's adjusted slightly from the dollar mark, whether they're doing well or not in the past. So if management kept that style, they might not totally get rid of it, but it would come down. So if you threw the dividend in here, I can see why it kind of bottom out around like 12 or 13-ish, because I could think with the dividend, if they continue to pay that for a year or two, that you could argue it's worth $12 or $13, you know, based on that. But definitely not cheap enough for me.
What do you have for share count?
It keeps going down. I got 157 right now, but let me just double check that against like Yahoo or something, see what they have. Yeah, actually, no. So it's even it has gone down. It's 122 I have outstanding right now, according to Yahoo.
Because I saw Seeking Alpha news update that says that the company is buying all the shares from ICANN.
Oh, and they're retiring them?
I'm not sure. I'm reading through it now. Billionaire activist investor Carl Icahn has sold his remaining 542 million stake in Xerox back to the company.
All right, well that's not a bad thing. That would also adjust my metrics here. So, although see, mine's already saying it's leveraged, so it's like they need to issue shares, not get rid of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hold on. Expects to fund the aggregate purchase price or with a new debt facility.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't. I mean, if anything, I mean that's fine that they retire the shares, but they need to improve the business. Then, if they improve the business, it's worth buying those shares back from him. But if not, then no, it's not. It's not worth it at all.
And he took a lot of his employees with him. It also says 1, 2, 3 others also resigned. So a lot of new things are going on there now on the board level and the structure there.
I'm gonna give it 12 with a dividend. I don't know. Somehow my number got 88 cents put in there, so something got messed up here because that's obviously not where I thought it was trending. But yeah, if we think the dividend will hold up, which I don't know if it will. It's a little far fetched. I think around even if I wanted my 50% return, I would say I would start to get interested around $8. Granted, things start to turn around and whatnot, but I'm gonna keep it on deck just because it's such a big, well-known company. And it does have it's one of those ones where I know tangible book is low, but I would say Xerox is a brand name that it's worth something. You know what it's worth, I don't know, but it's worth something.
Yeah. Now I've always found this a bit hard to jump into, and like you said, it's because I have wanted it cheaper. I may never get it because it keeps holding up about 10, right?
Yeah, and I want to just look one time just to see what's going on with the debt structure. So they have a revolving one of 200. What is that? 50 million, I'm assuming. And that was at 7.6. Then they have a loan facility at 555 million, which they used to buy the shares from Carl Icahn.
Buy the shares, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be an interesting boardroom to be in when Icahn comes in and
Yeah.
says, "Hey, I'm going to sell my entire stake."
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And by the way, people, if you have not watched the Carl Icahn documentary on HBO, I suggest you watch it. It's a very good documentary, I think.
I actually have not. So, I saw it was on there, and I think it's me hanging out with the wife, and I figured that's one that she probably doesn't want to watch. I don't know. Maybe she would like that. I don't know. But
there's some he tells some funny stories that are a bit crazy. So
yeah, I've listened to, I've read some of his stuff, and he's an interesting character for sure.
Yeah.
All right, on to Flowtech.
Yep.
So it's a technology-driven specialty green chemistry and data company. So they have their segments are chemistry technologies and data analytics. So the chemistry side, it designs, develops, manufactures, packages, and distributes green specialty chemicals that help their governments meet their environmental, social, and governance and operational goals. So once again, all environmental friendly. That's what we're all about here. environment.
Yeah.
And on the data side, maximize the value of hydrocarbon associated processes by providing analytics associated with hydrocarbon streams in seconds rather than minutes or days. Which, okay, it prevents waste, reduces reprocessing, and allows users to pursue automation to increase their profitability. It serves both domestic and international energy markets. So it looks like their first thing I noticed right off the bat is they're diluting shares. But revenues kind of bottomed out and are back up. Because I think this was one on the original RK stream that he looked into when it looked pretty ugly.
He has a stream where he goes through this company, and also Xerox.
Gotcha. How leveraged
Did you see
are
the
we
insider
talking?
buy?
What's up?
There's been some insider buys, but it's there's been a few since the summer actually, but smaller ones all the way.
Did they pay the debt off here with the shares? Because I had that they had quite a bit of debt due, and all of a sudden it's like gone. But then it got put onto the shareholders.
Yeah, I have the number, so I don't find any news.
Other thing I just wanted to add to here is just that there's a dividend on Xerox. Don't mind me. It's just me trying to remember things. Cash flow isn't great and hasn't been great for a while now. I don't know. Between the dilution and great that they got rid of the risk of the debt currently, but at the same time too, the cash flow is just killing them. You have the same?
Yeah, I have the same. It's all red on the cash flow, so that's not looking good. And like you said, they've issued a lot of shares, but also paid down the debt. I tried to look at Seeking Alpha. If someone talked about that.
I will say there's a healthy amount of insider buying at these prices, so they're bullish.
Yeah, I tried to look up that David Nierenberg guy.
Have I? Is that what you asked?
Huh?
You said, have I looked him up?
No, I tried to look him up, but I couldn't find so much information.
Gotcha. I mean, he's the director, so...
Yeah.
Who knows what there's to say on that. But, so they must be anticipating some kind of turnaround in all this. They're struggling to get revenues up where they want them. They have an interview with Ryan Easel, CEO. That's interesting.
Is that the CEO?
Yeah.
On Seeking?
Yeah.
I'm a bit curious about this ProFrac Holding Corporation, who is a 10% owner.
Is that ProFrac? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. Do you know about them?
Well, I'm just reading this article right now, and it says a lot of this has to do with a 10-year supply agreement with ProFrac Holding, which is ACDC, nice name. Gives them a revenue and EBITDA base from which to build. So they have a 10-year contract with them. So that's probably why they are working hand in hand with each other.
Yeah, okay. Because that's another company, I see.
And this guy says he really likes the CEO. And he, let's see what it says in the interview here. Wait, when is this article from? This is from July. Did this pop recently?
Yeah, it did on the it popped like 20%, I think.
Yeah, but they must have done this must be with a split or something like that, because I don't have that it was ever super at the prices that they're showing. Because he was talking about saying that because his first thing is like, we probably clear up in the near term risk of a reverse split due to the company being below New York Stock Exchange minimum. And he said that they were hoping to resolve that organically, and said there was no chance for a reverse split, so maybe not.
I don't see any news on Seeking Alpha about a reverse split, at least.
Gotcha. Yeah, honestly, this looks like a pretty long interview, so I will actually go through this. I'll make a note to read through this. So he's basically saying that they're just trying to get in the position where their main priority now is funding working capital priorities, and then once we're cash flow positive, we can think of potentially returning cash to shareholders. So if you're investing in this right now, you're investing in a pretty strong turnaround thesis that hasn't quite changed just yet. So it's a lot of narrative base.
Yeah, and I think that was some of the comments I read on some of the articles, that they were talking about the lack of numbers to back up the story. So I guess this is like something that needs to prove themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, they have been buying shares. But some of these purchases must be like options, because they got a big discount on them.
Wait, what did you say?
If you go to Open Insider, you see there's a lot of people who have bought shares below $1, which must be like option rewards and stuff.
Yeah, possibly, but that's what I'm saying in this article that I was just looking at here. Sometimes it is impossible for me to find where I'm going here. Because where was it? Just reading that. Because so this says the takeaway. I think FTK is a solid prospect for a higher share price after earnings are released in August. They're currently near the midpoint of their recent. Oh no, that's okay. That's earnings. But I mean, yeah, I have just recently positive earnings, but I don't have any positive cash flow. So who cares? I mean, there's the share dilution, and unless they have generated a ton of cash from figuring this out, I need to figure out what this debt was. Is this did they trip something, or is it actual? Because sometimes I know if you trip one of your covenants or something, it'll appear on your balance sheet that the debt's due when it's actually not.
You mean in 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit weird, and I haven't found anyone talking about it.
It says long-term debt's at 104 still on this, but this is from September 30. Current portion of long... Oh, this... Yeah, no, this isn't thousand. Oh, 179,000. No, okay, so this is in thousands. Okay. And they did have a lot that was due. Says they do have convertible notes.
They have a revolver from that they took up in August.
Let's see here. So this is the ProFrac agreement. So it looks like that share increase was from the ProFrac agreement. That's what happened.
They gave them shares.
Yeah, that's where they said 12.6 million shares. So that would make good number sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's what's going on.
see
That's where that came from.
Yeah.
So I bet it was a liability in terms of those shares, and now that they converted the shares, that debt wasn't actually there, because that's just them converting the shares. This is the debt from the shares being offered.
If you scroll a little bit up on the notes to financial statement.
Where are you talking?
Yeah, there you see 104 there.
Yes.
Is that what you have in your sheet?
Yeah, but this isn't thousands, I think. That's what it was on the other page. So that's saying there's $104,000.
Really? Because in my sheet from 2022, I have exactly 104.
Yeah, but I think that 104, that's I don't know. Maybe that's where Share Radar pulled the number in, but it doesn't matter. That's not what's actually going on either way.
Okay.
Because yeah, this is in thousands. So according to the SEC, they have $104,000 in debt.
Oh,
they had this like $2 million in debt.
Yeah.
A year before that.
Yeah.
And they have.
They put in the just.
They have a lot of cash.
Yeah. Still a bit weird that they do that though, that they pull it in only for that year. Wrong.
Yeah, it's probably due to the fact, like, when there's convertible notes or something like that. I don't know if the data is that the parsing system that I think his name's Vance or whoever made Share Radar.
Yeah.
I don't think it's smart enough to probably recognize that, or it's just programmed to notice it.
Yeah. But does your calculator issue shares?
What'd you say?
Does your calculator issue shares? Because mine says levered, but it doesn't issue.
It does based on cash flow.
Okay.
Heavily on cash flow, because cash flow is negative.
Yeah.
And it's been negative now for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the insider buying is somewhat bullish, but for me, I'd have to see a bigger increase in what's going on here. So definitely something to follow, but are they going to actually get on their feet and get running? I don't know.
No, that's going to be like, I have this in the tracker for some time now, and it has never been super interesting to me. But if you look at the negative cash flow generation, at least from the previous years, it's up a little bit. So maybe they are turning it around a little bit, but I still need to see more.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my $1.64 there. So yeah, I would definitely want to see this get a little cheaper, and or really see that narrative start to come to, because the problem is it looks like a lot of people have already bought kind of into the narrative. And like I said, I know it's not really sitting on debt, so it gets a little bounced off that, but it's too expensive for me.
Yeah.
You know, I get interesting just above $1 for me.
If you scroll out on the chart all the way, it doesn't seem to has been so much lower than it is right now.
No, I mean, it's definitely moved around. But, I mean, look at this. I mean, no matter what, this is still just kind of working its way down.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't look good. No, this would have to be like where you pay attention to the news and the turnaround story and if they can improve.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a new CEO and he, and there's that new CNF, which is the carbon, what did they say that was?
Oh yeah, the incentive from the government.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I read real quickly about it. Yeah, complex nanofluids, surfactants for flow enhancement, friction reducers are another way. Many used today have formation damage impacts, and we've been working with chemical companies on proprietary formulations to minimize damage. A couple are in field trials, and we'll introduce these to wider. We'll be improving margins. He also brings up the fact that there's a lot of competitors in here. One actual thing I do really actually want to go to. I want to just see if they have a recent. Oh, this isn't what I wanted. Like investors relations.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why it won't pull it up.
What do you think about that ownership though? From what were they called? Profrac?
I mean, what about it? You know, they're a company that's trying to work with them.
Yeah.
So I think that was just part of the. They were saying like, hey, we'll work with you guys, and you know, we'll end up taking part of the company in. So.
Yeah. And that Nierenberg guy owns 10%.
Just wanted to just look at this real quick before anything, just to see if there's anything else going on here I should be looking at. So their guidance for revenue was 185 to 200. So they are on track with that.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, and they do have the ABL facility now, so that's good for liquidity. And there's reported 128% growth in the CNF chemistry sales. So we'll have to figure out what those sales would translate into.
Yeah, and look at the last point there. Subscription revenue up 81%.
Yeah, no, I just saw that that's the first 9 months of 2022. So I'd be interested to see what that is doing now.
Yeah.
You know. And yeah, I mean, they are growing revenues, which is good. Where that translates into earnings and profit is the real question here. They're saying, I don't really like adjusted EBITDA. Like, that's such a bullshit number.
Yeah.
I know everybody uses that, but I feel like there's so much more nuance to that. I mean, then they're saying from Q2 to Q3, it was like a really, really awesome growth here. So that could definitely be looked at into the futures.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I see why some people are bullish on this. I just I would want to wait for this to kind of pull back, you know.
$2.9 is 52-week low.
Yeah. Just get that cash flow back up. That's all I want to see.
Been a minute since they did that though.
What'd you say?
In my numbers, they were on the operating cash flow has been negative since 2017.
Yeah. Did I have 1 year it was positive? Yeah, I had 19 was positive, but yeah, it's been ugly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. They're trying to turn around. It's a new CEO, so you could probably you know, you can kind of just ignore that in general. Obviously, the company's been struggling. You know, you can see that in the chart. So just to see where they can take it from here, you know.
I'm gonna keep them in the tracker and pay attention to new news and stuff like that. And if it dips, what did you put as a like where it starts to get interesting? Because if this dips below the 52-week low, I think it can fall a little bit heavy, you know.
If it dips below what?
290, which is the 52-week low.
No, I have it trading. I because of the cash flow for me. No, I would put a pretty heavy discount on this for me.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to go way below where it is. Like I have this interesting at like $1.
Yeah. I was thinking like it would need to go towards 2 before I start to get really not only that, but they would have to show something with the cash generation too.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This last year looks good, and if those contracts work out in their new chemical, you know, the proprietary or the nano carbons, if that works out, the narrative's there.
Yeah.
But this is already priced as if it's going to not continue to bottom out, and also, you know, start to come back. Which for me, I don't have any. I don't have that kind of faith. No offense to management and all that, but you know, that's for them to prove. And I will say the insiders are buying right now, so they're putting their money where their mouth is. I mean, this Ryan Ezel, he purchased it at $4, and he keeps slowly increasing. I mean, you know, he's not taking small chunks out.
Yeah, and the other guy is a 10% owner.
And this must be a different form of shares, because it also says he owns 500,000 here, but the value is only worth 9,000. So that must be his warrants or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of that.
Yeah.
And here's when ProFrac got involved, was right at the end of last year. And they got it for $1.16. So I mean, there's a lot riding on it. I mean, they have a lot of pressure to encourage management to perform, you know, themselves. You know, that like they directly benefit from that. So
$1.16 would be interesting.
yeah, for sure. What's actually one other thing I just want to check real quick is just on their reporting here. I just want to see if it talks about those kind of shares or anything like that. Nah, it doesn't really go into it. Okay. You got anything else to add to that one?
No, not really. I just like I said, I added them to the tracker a while ago, and I've been paying attention to them. But they just and I've seen the insider buys because they have been buying regularly, but it just hasn't reached the levels that I thought that now I have to buy this.
Right.
So I'm still waiting on that. But I totally agreed. Like the last year, it looks promising. It has the narrative, and let's see if they can turn around. And maybe you will never get it below, 290 where it was. But that's okay. Then this was one that I just didn't pull the trigger on, and that's okay.
I'm just looking. I want to make sure well, that was weird. My laptop just acted like the stream had ended.
Really? But I'm still watching.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I did that. I'm not really worried about it as long as it's still going.
Yeah.
I got a warning that the streaming quality was like low or something like that, like the bit rate was low. So I don't know what that's from.
Okay. No, I think we are good.
Yeah, maybe it's bouncing back and forth, but it's okay. I probably can maybe close out of some stuff here too. Oh, maybe some of the stuff's slowing things down. I try not to have too many things open while I'm doing things. All right, well, I can update my spreadsheet for everything what happened yesterday. And also the weekly movers will update all that stuff.
Yeah.
You said you already had went through screening for yesterday?
Yeah, but first of all, the daily movers list was not a big list yesterday for me. But I found like a couple of companies that I thought maybe it's worth talking about, but at first glance, I didn't find them highly interesting,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing much in terms of insider buying that would interest me too much.
No.
Did you see how much Ebix bounced after it went bankrupt?
Yeah, I saw them they come up, but how much was it?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, take a peek at this beautiful chart.
Wasn't that you said when you were in the jungle that you're putting everything into Ebix?
I should have, because it would have been a great return. Honestly, yeah. I'm gonna make a separate account where I just buy bankrupt companies when they go bankrupt, because it always does this. It bottoms out and then it becomes like a 10-bagger.
Yeah.
That's the future of investing right there. That's smart investing, guys.
Sounds like a cool strategy.
Yeah, sounds like a great way to get murdered too. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much. I just was starting here just because the list is pretty small. Tilly's is one I've looked at a bunch of times. It looks like they're kind of trending towards lows, but I always wonder, like, if this is a longer term chart, but even if you zoom in, there's just not a huge range for return. If it gets really cheap, you know, obviously you could get a decent return on one of these kind of moves. But it's nothing drastic, you know.
No.
Oh, where's my dash here? Like, you know, it's 17% from the bottom, but only 30% from the top. So it's barely a 50% move at its greatest, which, you know, that's one thing just because of the way the strategy works that sometimes I have a hard time looking at some of those companies just because there's not much. The chance of you timing that to really get that kind of return is small.
Yeah.
Unless something's
But that's one I have
changed.
in the tracker.
Yeah. But all right, we'll go through. If you said you didn't catch much on here, you know, you probably screen somewhat similar to I do. So maybe we won't find too much in here. But
no.
Oh, there you go, ADTH guys.
Yeah, I saw that.
Bullish. That was my big pickup. I did update my portfolio here.
Do you have the video?
Yeah, I think I do.
It's
There you go, guys.
we need to use it because you know, no one else is bragging about you, so we need to give ourselves some confidence when we do something good.
Yeah, exactly. It's really important to brag when you make one good pick, guys. That's how you know you're a good investor, is when you brag about your one good choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and ignore all the bad ones.
Yeah. I find the person who usually speaks the most in their room is usually the one who should keep their mouth shut the most, you know?
For sure.
But yeah, so you know, I'm only holding still a few companies, and most of mine, you know, I've been in Advanced and Alto for a while, and I've really trimmed back on those positions just because they've been good returns for me. So not to say that I don't think they can go drastically higher. It's just me trying to return the gains. You know, that's always the goal. And you know, you see this in here for Caster, like I said. It's really a trading position, so that won't be long, and I have stop losses in place. I just thought there was a chance to catch some of that narrative, and even with some of the metrics here, it's a tough company to look at, because really the assets here, this is really the question of what can they do with that. That's the most important part I find with those guys.
Yeah. And you were saying he was actively selling assets right now.
Yeah, just if you go on like Seeking Alpha, they're selling like ships left and right. So my big thing is, you know, what's going on now. Granted, it was kind of strange, and I feel bad for early investors because he's lost money on those. He bought the ships and then tried to resell them, and so cash is coming back in, but it's at a substantial loss. So
yeah,
I don't know. The whole thing's kind of strange how he pulled this all off, and a lot of the shipping companies are kind of questionable. So I don't know. It's a tough industry. But
very tough. I talked about the shipping a little bit on Thursday, and I said I was in a company from my country, and you know, around 2020 there was a new rule coming in that you needed to be more green with the ships, and there were a lot of stories about how some were well positioned because they had renewed their float of ships. And I jumped out a little bit after the 2022, but I know a lot of the things they were talking about was how many old ships there are there. So I'm not sure. Do you know about that? Is it so easy to just sell ships if you have a lot of them in your float?
I mean, if there's a buyer, I mean, and I'm sure at the right price, there's always someone who's willing to buy it. But I don't know, you know, in terms of depreciation for like those kind of vessels, like I don't know how easy it is to repair them and keep them running. It depends, I'm sure, on the size and and at the other thing too is with the cost of what do you call it? energy, they burn a ton of fuel, the bigger ships and stuff. So in order to stay profitable, in comparison, as they build newer, more efficient ships, like I just saw someone, they're trying to put sails on ships again, like some of these bigger ships.
Yeah.
Because, if you have the option of using wind, why not, So who knows? I mean, it's...
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would imagine they have a decently long runtime, but I don't know. You're in salt water constantly. I'm sure the repairs are expensive.
There were a lot of talks that some companies were a bit well positioned because they had managed to get newer ships and upgraded them before those new rules came into play. But obviously, that's many years ago now, and I haven't really followed that industry so much. I found it very complicated.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's one of those ones too that I'm sure there's some great books out there that you could buy and get into. I still have a list of books that I'm trying to get through before I start delving into more industry specific kind of books. It's more just general investing type books. I feel like I've already read quite a few, but it doesn't hurt to keep learning, because I feel like everyone has different parts that make me think about things a little bit differently. Everybody's got a little bit of a different style, and I've always kind of been someone who takes like a mix mash of all these different ideas, and certain ones kind of stick for me and other ones don't, and that kind of just helps me to hone in on the style that works best for me. Makes me more efficient at what I do. So I would like to slowly, especially like, let's say I'm starting to get interested in certain either industries just because of cyclicality of the industry, or if there's like a company that I might be able to buy a book that I think I could knock out real quick before I try to make a purchase, and that way I'm just a little bit more informed than the average person is on the industry.
Yeah.
I think with anything, and this is partly due to the style that you and I are investing with, I would love to sit here for 8 hours a day and really delve into this stuff to the degree that I would want to really be comfortable. And we don't have that luxury, at least not yet. So in the meantime, it's just doing all these little things to try and have just enough information, to make a decent decision. And in that decent decision, and the other thing too is sometimes it's almost worse to know too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can overthink things for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both of those, but it so far it's been working out, and I'm sure there's people who would argue if they really watch this and said like, well, you guys don't do quite enough research, and there may be some truth to that, but even as RK said, it's good enough. It has to be good enough. If it's working, obviously it's good enough. And then as I think it gets a little trickier once you get enough capital under your belt that you're not able to just buy positions and kind of move in and out of things, as things become more liquid, and you have to make better, quicker decisions, or not necessarily quicker, but like if you're going to get into something, you can't just move in and out of it. You're just going to have to make sure that you're really sure on that position, because it's going to be tough to get out of it if you're wrong. Yeah. So I think that, it's a benefit of just being a smaller retail investor right now.
Yeah. And I mean, on the streams, and I think this is, this is what we do. Like, so far we have focused to try to find some new companies, right? But we have also a big list where we track stuff, and I don't think you see that process so much in the stream so far, that we just pull up companies we already have knowledge about and just watch the chart, check the news and stuff like that. That's a very important part of how to be able to tell if you're going to pull the trigger or not.
No, definitely.
So there's more to the style also than to just look for new things,
Yeah.
The tracking process is a massive part of this.
Well, it is super important too, because the other thing too is like with certain companies, I'm putting little notes, kind of mental notes, and what would be a catalyst in terms of going forward. And when that finally does occur, or something starts to happen, or all of a sudden there's rumors that whatever we were hoping are happening, that's where you got to get interested. And especially if it's cheap right then, if you're gonna try and get into something to make a decent return, you might have to buy on that. And that's the thing, is you're not necessarily buying on completely sound information. It's just that, you know, whether it's been historically or even if it's a one-time off event, if you're able to have enough confidence that that's going to lead towards the share price rise. And I know that's shorter term, and you know, you can argue that as value investors you should be focused on, you know, longer term, which I don't disagree with. I'm not saying anything about that. What I'm saying is that in terms of our style initially at this, like, you know, as more of a deep value investor, you are able to kind of pick apart more the narrative and story and utilize that. Where, yeah, I would agree, you know, once you get to a certain size, you're going to really have to focus more on the how great the business is, and probably hold things for longer in order to see, you know, to really outperform the market. But at this level, I just don't think it matters as much. I think you're able to
agree,
to kind of bend those rules. They're all guidelines. There is no right or wrong way to do this.
No.
There's people who trade. There's people who day trade, you know, and are extremely successful at it. So, it all matters. All of it comes together.
That's what that's what fascinates me. I've talked about this before, but there's so many styles in the same market that you can be highly successful in.
Right.
So there's not really any right or wrong to do this, and like we have said, and I know we need to prove this to the stream too, but we know that last year we were tracking and like using the sheets and doing all that stuff. It did work well for us, and I think it will continue to work well. And also I was gonna say, like, if you hear us say like, oh no, this looks interesting, but it's not enough for me to buy right now. That can be a big benefit, I think, to wait a little bit, to see if it does come down to even cheaper level. Then even if it's interesting at this level, it can still drop. And the reason why we say that a few times is because we have seen it happen so many times. Like you think maybe this is an interesting entry point, and then it keeps dropping. Right. And then it's a benefit to wait. You have time on your side, you know.
Right. And the other thing too is, I mean, you know, we're looking at things and you think in such short veins of time. In the past month with the re-rates and stuff, like the whole market's been bullish, like everything's gone up. So it's real easy to say, like, you know, you can miss timings, but it's funny the perspective when everything looks so bearish, you know, when it didn't look good and everything was just going, you know, a lot of things were working its way down. And until we had that real re-rate where all of a sudden inflation came down, all of a sudden the whole story kind of turned around last second, and it looked like possibly, at least for the United States, a soft landing is possible, which I know is way harder than it sounds. When it's really bearish, you really do have to be a contrarian. You know, I think that's super important to be able to kind of just sift through all that nonsense and not focus on what the media is talking about. All that stuff in general, yes, it matters, but you know, when you're buying into something that's at all-time lows because you're confident that, you know, at some point that'll turn around, regardless of what everything else is doing. You know, unless there's like a true crisis, like a COVID type thing, it's only a matter of time before you're proven right.
Yeah. And that's where the tracking part comes into play, right? That, you know, okay, I know which one to pay extra attention to, and then pull the trigger.
Right.
It's very exciting, I feel. I'm really passionate about this process and see where it can take us. Yeah.
So far, it's, I mean, like I said already, this year it's going very well for me. So,
yeah.
And it's all just a learning process. This will be the start of technically year 4. Although I would really argue I've only been, you know, truly investing for, maybe this would be like 2.5. Is probably around now, is where that's starting. But but the more
It
the
took
more
a
I
while
do
to
this,
build the sheets.
yeah, and the more the sheets get fleshed out, the more I use it, the more I'm like, I like how this works, I don't like how that works, and
Yeah.
just kind of honing it in on what's successful and what isn't. There's a lot of energy, or there's a lot of healthcare and stuff moving, which I'm not looking at that. I'm not really so concerned with some of these REITs either. I'm not seeing much on the what's on a downtrend right now. Some of the names I've looked at recently, which is why I'm not pulling them up again, just because it would take a more of a substantial pullback for me to get interested in them.
I've seen this week, Dane, in the movers, a little bit of bank companies again, and insurance and REITs.
Yeah, and you're probably going to see that too, because I know the Fed talked about, jobs data came in decent, so there's a risk of inflation kind of creeping back up, and the Fed also they sounded as if they're still kind of planning on the rate cuts. They think it's still reasonable because they do think things are going to start to slow down. But with that being said, that it'll be towards the end of the year. So I think some of the narrative got pushed back in terms of when those rate cuts would occur. I don't know if people were pricing it in maybe mid-year. Because that's the thing. I mean, and it's always hard, and it's always in hindsight what the Fed's doing. So it's hard to predict where and how quick that's going to come to fruition,
Yeah. Yeah, because I saw some comments about, I don't remember which ticker it was, but I pulled up something, and there was some comments like, because of the guidance, like the rate cuts and all that, that people will in 2024 start to spend a lot of money again. But I think that's not how it's going to work. This will take time, because it's still very tough. I think 2024 going to be for a lot of families and economies around in the world in general.
Right. And yeah, I'm hard pressed to also think that when you really look at the numbers, it's kind of like when we look at these companies too. Just because the companies have earnings, you have to figure out where those earnings are from. And if someone's taking on a ton of debt in order to do something, it's the same with the average consumer. I think debt, which I know inflation's been increasing, so the numbers are all going to be a little elevated comparatively to what the highs have been in the past. But with that being said, if the average person is slowly pushing themselves further and further into debt to kind of keep up this spending, there's a point where they're going to hit a threshold, and that's going to stop. And if you were going to be bearish about anything coming up, I would think that's got to be it. You got to think that at a certain point, all this that's affected, and we're trying to kind of pivot through this. Who knows? I don't know these kind of things. That's why I don't really put too much thought into it. But if there was one bearish thing I'd watch out for, is that even though we're super bullish on people spending, obviously people aren't really buying houses as much as they were before. It's just so expensive. The United States, I know, is talking about possibly passing a bill where single family homes wouldn't be allowed to be owned by any of these like bigger companies like BlackRock or investment funds. Like, they're not going to be able to own single family homes. And if that was the case, it would provide a lot more houses back to the market, because I think they said they'd give them like 10 years to have to be able to sell them back. But and maybe that would bring prices down. So
yeah.
But either way, right now the housing market's definitely slowing down. So at some point that affects a lot of businesses. I would think that no matter what, a lot of I guess this is how you would play this kind of thing, or at least the way I would try and think about it, is if you're getting crunched for debt, you're not going to stop spending on small things. Like, you're still going to get, your normal food and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you're not buying like excessive things, but what people really aren't spending money on is, like, they're not renovating their homes. They're not buying, like, they're not putting a pool in. They're not, buying new cars as much. Like, those big purchases, as you start to get, credit crunched, those big purchases kind of get out of range for you. So I think you're going to see some prices come down on those kind of items. But I think that's what, Buffett, I think, kind of argues that during inflationary periods or even rough periods, people seem to spend on, the kind of consumer products that are, part of your average day, and all the excessive ones that you're not going to buy. You're not buying brand new furniture and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really not seeing much on the metric sides coming up here. There's Pole.
No.
Stupid Pole.
They are living their own life.
I still can't believe this.
Look at the volume.
I know. Who bought into this? What does this buy? Is this just momentum or?
I have still not figured it out, but I think it is.
What is the news on this? Anything? Any news on this?
No.
Yeah. It's not aware of any undisclosed material change or development in its business. Nothing's changed.
It's a meme thing. But
Yeah,
I
guess.
haven't found talk about it on forums either, to be honest.
Solid earnings.
I haven't looked. But usually it's pretty easy to spot things like this after it has happened.
Got up to $12.
Yeah.
Who bought this at $12? I want to meet that person.
Yeah.
Insane. Absolutely insane. I just because now I'm curious, I want to zoom in here. Like, what a day. This got up to almost, it looks about $11. So it went from
1 to 11.
Yeah, 1 to 11 in a day.
Yeah.
On 130 million shares movement. How many outstanding shares do they even have? Only 2 million. That's why. Yeah. See, this is just a perfect momentum target. The momentum guys, they love this. They love these small prices, low share count. Because if something's gonna swing, I mean, this is the kind of stock it can really bounce on.
Yeah.
Whatever, good for them. I hope the guys who own shares in that company sold them all.
Yeah, you should have sold the same day. No, well, it's watch now. It will continue to go up when we sit here and talk about it. It will continue to go up.
I guess you can argue these assets are worth something.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I don't think there's much going on there.
I think they have been in the daily movers like every day since then.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean that kind of volume's nuts.
Yeah.
No, honestly, kind of quiet so far. I haven't really found too much.
No, I found a couple, but like I said earlier, they at first glance they weren't super interesting, but it was something there,
Oh, that's the one from China. This is the one that this is the Chinese freight company I looked at, but I see this chart and every Chinese company, or every time I see one of the charts do this for a Chinese company, it's like the most bullish signal in the world. Like, this thing's probably going to be $10 by Monday. Every time it has this massive drop off, it always spikes. It's always ridiculous. It has this RSI too that's like, super undersold, and then it just goes nuts. And of course, like, not that I'm not saying that these guys aren't being trustworthy with their numbers. Maybe they are, but like, always the metrics look good. Metrics always look good for them.
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
That's going to be, I'm going to open one more portfolio, and I'm going to buy Chinese companies after massive drops, and I'm going to buy bankrupt companies, and that's it. Yeah. That's going to be the whole portfolio.
Yeah.
Chinese dead cat bounces and bankruptcy bounces. It'll be the bounce portfolio.
Bounce portfolio, I like it.
That's going to be my biggest performer by far.
Yeah. Did you see the Hindenburg research report on, I don't remember the name, but it was a Chinese like theme park company?
I feel like I heard of it, but I didn't really read much into it.
No, I think they went there to check out the theme parks, and it was like just horrible all over. It's just the the entire company was just a big lie, more or less.
That's what you have to watch out for is, you know, some of these companies, when you actually like, you can look at the address. People have said like one of the best things you can do with some of these companies, just go on Google Earth and just zoom in on the address and see if there's actually a building even there.
Yeah,
you know,
true. That's pretty easy to do though.
That's what I'm saying. They're like that's the quick check to make sure it's an actually like legit company, is make sure the physical building exists. Like make sure it's actually like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's the same one I remember that you're talking about, I think they said they went there and they said like the theme park that was there was like some little rundown like dump, like it didn't really exist. It was just like like an old theme park that was like broken.
Yeah, it was, and I think they had like one. What do you call the thing that you ride on? Carousel.
Oh yeah.
That was just running the same.
You imagine $1 billion companies running out of China and it's a broken down carousel. That's the asset.
Yeah. Imagine if you are an investor from Europe or USA in that company, and then you see that report. That would be something.
Yeah, but that's your fault.
Yeah, it is your fault, but it's like, yeah, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I got lucky on one of them. I'm trying to think what the name of the company was. It was when I was a relatively new investor, and I can't remember who it was. And the reports and stuff looked decent, and there was quite a bit of activity on it. And there was supposed to be a merger, so the stock price jumped up to the merger price. And I held it for a while, and it started to come back down from that because there was like no news, and people just kept saying in the comments, they're like, oh yeah, a lot of times it takes a while for the news to come out on these, so they're like, you know, things can remain quiet for a while, and it pulled back like 20%. I just sold out because I'm like, I don't know, I don't even know much about this company, and then I remember checking back on it like 4 or 5 months later. And like the stock price had like bottomed, and like everyone's like, it's a fraud, it's not real, like yeah. And I'm like, oh, I got lucky there. So I guess I'm obviously not too privy to escaping the nonsense either, but you know, a warning to myself.
Yeah, and I think the old style that I had, which wasn't, in my opinion, a very good style, because I was just basing it off what I read on forums, basically, which is, I feel like that's a lot of investors, they start in that way. And I guess that's where you can get trapped into something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think narrative's super important, but going off only a narrative, good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I started to watch Roaring Kitty and build the sheets.
Yeah, so I know we've looked at this before. I've been in VHI. I just noticed that it's finally creeping up.
Yeah.
VHI is a holding company. Like they hold Kronos, Compex, BMI, and Landwell. Those are the main ones. Each one is a very specific business. So when you're trying to evaluate VHI, you need to look at the underlying businesses because they have, it's kind of crazy, the structure. They own big chunks of shares of each one in different varying amounts. So depending on how one's doing versus the other, some will drastically affect their price, some won't. They also have to report after you get to a certain percentage that they like own that company and it's part of their reports. So it's kind of, it's tough to value on that message, and the numbers can kind of be all over the place, and you have to know each one of those companies pretty well to be able to kind of evaluate this. My big thing is when I'm trying to get into one like VHI, I rely on, you know, kind of what other people are saying. And the reason why I bought it initially is it just seemed pretty cheap to me. I don't think it was much of a return for me. I think I kind of got in and then realized I wasn't super confident in where it was trading, and then I kind of backed back out. So I had the chart up here, and I think
we have talked about this, and we have seen it like it doesn't. We want to get it down to like 10 and even below, but it doesn't seem to go that far down. But around 12 to 10, and then it goes up again. Seems like a pattern if you look at the chart there.
Yeah, I think when I got involved in this, it was either somewhere on this rise up in here or more on this one in here. I can't remember exactly what it was. Because I think I ended up buying in around like 12.50 is if I remember right, and
Yeah.
I sold out probably. I probably only gained like $1 or so a share, and like I said, it's hard to value this one. So it looked to me like it could go a lot higher. And I mean, if you look back to even February, I mean we were trading at $25. If you zoom out. I know this is getting slowly back towards crazy COVID times, so some of these numbers get real high, but as much as $50. So to me, around the 12, it seemed decent. It did drop down, and I think I missed looking at this when it got this low, down to like 11. But obviously, it's had a recent rally, which is once again similar to the rest of the market. So it could have been, even if I saw it, maybe I wasn't interested.
No.
But really, I more just wanted to kind of just double check the news, see what's going on here. Obviously, it's swinging in the right direction.
Yeah. And that chart right now looks a bit bullish.
So it looked like on the 6th, EPS was 21 cents, revenue of 556. I just want to see. They're saying this is last year's result?
Yeah.
Okay, strange.
Yeah, that was strange.
So never mind. Don't worry about that.
But maybe they have corrected it, and that is actual this correct results.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I read this Wealth Analytics one. I definitely read the Enthusiastic Investors Club.
You know, Kingdom had a piece on this a while back, but then it was around 8.
Gotcha. So since these guys have written this, it's up 10%. Or no, that's the last. Oh, since the post, it's still down. So, trying to figure out where this one will land is tough. Yeah, this titanium oxide, this is what Kronos has been producing. So Kronos is more of a cyclical business, or dioxide. So you're trying to follow that. That's why VHI gets complicated. For me, it's kind of tough to take a huge position in this one. And I honestly think this is one of the ones too where it's almost a disadvantage for the stock to have all these companies involved in one, because it's tough to value it, so people have a hard time. Like, it might be worth more as a separate component of its parts. You know, I think that's why sometimes you see, but it's not like this company owns all these things entirely, so it's not like they can choose to actually sell them or spin them off.
But they have big ownership in Kronos.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, but that gets
Yeah.
pulled into all their financials.
Yeah, there is Kingdom.
See, and like you were saying, Kingdom comes straight in and says it trades at a much steeper discount. Because if you aggregate what they each own, I don't think you get the, also given the long tail litigation issues at NL, I don't think you get the resolution. So NL had litigation against it from like previously what the company had done, and it's substantial. Like they were getting sued quite a bit for it. So I mean, and this is what makes it so complicated too. So NL also holds another 30% of Kronos. So you have like multiple businesses all owning separate chunks of each other. So
Yeah.
when you're trying to value it, it's so hard.
Yeah. I actually, I don't remember where,
This article
but
really
I
doesn't
read.
add much
I reached out to Kingdom about VHI when it was dropping towards 12, and I asked him if he was gonna update his article, and he just laughed a little bit, but said like he's still following them, following them, you know. But I think he got a pretty quick double from when he posted his article.
Gotcha. Yeah, when was and the thing is too, in terms of updating it, like I don't know how much he can update it. So this was from 2020.
Yeah, I think his answer was something like they are much the same, and you know, if you look at what the price was then when he posted that article, I think it was 8.
This isn't this post.
Hold on.
Oh, this post market. I'm an idiot. That's not. Where does it say from this article?
It should be at the top.
Is it because of this stupid thing?
Let me check. Let me check here. I have them here.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter, but either way, I mean, it's old 2020. I mean, it's a while ago, but I'm pretty sure I did read. Yeah, this is kind of the best way to try and figure this out. Is like I said, he goes through each company, and really that's the way to do it. And at one point, I think I had kind of done it, but I don't remember exactly what I got for my numbers. And it's been a while. Yeah, see, I mean, I had this at a pretty steep discount, but I'll have to update these numbers because obviously things have changed.
Yeah. And the question also is, you saw, we talk about a big upside here, you know, but I'm not. Do you think it can still go very high and after understanding the ownership structure and all that now?
After what?
After how you connected all the ownership structure, do you think it can still go to like much higher than 25 and above?
Not with this last year's metrics.
Yeah, like the updated view on it now.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the issue there. I think I think of just what it owns. The other companies aren't doing as well, so it's a direct relation to VHI. What I think, and when I look at this chart, really all it shows me is that this was ridiculous. This $11 here, this is a crazy valuation. Somewhere in this range is probably somewhat reasonable, but I still this still looks cheap to me.
Yeah,
this is one that it's interested me. It interests me. But I might even want to wait back for a pullback because, like I said too, the other thing too is, while I say it interests me, I also think a big part of this return right now is probably just from the fact that the markets have turned around, and it's not that really much has substantially changed with VHI. It's just everybody who's discounted these kind of companies so much now is starting to look into them, and people are buying companies that have been at steep discounts.
Yeah. And I think maybe, because I've followed them for a while now, and I think it has tended to come down to around 12 every now and then. You know, so we might get a pullback.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not a ton of volume. I mean, look at, there's days where there's only a couple hundred shares moving. You know.
Yeah.
So, how many shares outstanding they have? 28 million. So you're talking 400 shares moving on 28 million. I mean, that's insane. But you also have days now where, I mean, look, there's 67,000 shares.
It's a big spike. Yeah.
But still, in the grand scheme of things, it's not much.
it's not consistent either. So this would not be in your bounce portfolio.
In my bounce portfolio?
Yeah.
Nah. When it goes bankrupt, then I'll go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a bankruptcy portfolio where I only expect 10 baggers every time.
Minimum.
I'm gonna start with $100, and in the course of 1 year, I'm gonna turn it into $1 million.
Yeah.
You don't need to 10 times something very much for it to become $1 million. So yeah, I didn't really find too much that interested me. VHI does, but I'll have to do some digging because every time I do VHI, I have to go to the different companies and try and look at those to figure out kind of where I think everything's headed.
Yeah.
I find the number here, it's somewhat useful, but at the same time too, I kind of like to compare that to the different companies and see where I land in terms of what their valuations should be. I'm just starting Answat's book that I had gotten to, so maybe that'll make me consider. I know he uses he's constantly focused on the rates to determine value, and that's a way to obviously also include risk into your assessments. But in terms of valuation too, it's always part story and everything else. So who knows how much it will actually change the way I value things.
Still good to read it.
I've taken on top of that too. I have watched his courses online. He offers all his courses. That was one of the first things I did when I was trying to understand value, was go through all his courses on YouTube. So I have watched those and learned it. So it might be a lot of the things that I've already kind of understood. But I wanted to get a real book to just kind of sit there and go through, because it's one thing to watch a course, but it's another thing to really have someone go through these things much more in depth and write them out, where I can kind of sit there and take my time really comprehending what he's saying. Because sometimes with just PowerPoint slides and stuff, yeah, it hits the major points, but a lot of times it's the little nuance and things that helps you to become a much better person evaluation, because you really have to pay attention to all the small things and when and why they matter and don't. So should be a good read though. And then after that, I'm doing the Outsiders.
Is that with the management?
Yeah, and that's actually recommended by like Buffett and all kinds of people as one of the greatest books from one of the years, whatever year it was released. They all recommended it as one of the best books of the year.
Right. Okay.
You said you had some tickers to go through, possibly?
Yeah, I have a couple. SND, Smart Sand.
I have not looked at them yet, so
I just saw a couple of interesting things here.
it's all fracking companies. Doing a lot of fracking lately. I feel like half these small companies like this that have to do with like these kind of industries, like the average person just doesn't know anything about them or care. So they tend
that's
to
a little bit.
They tend to get kind of wild in valuation because of that.
Yeah. I saw they have purchased some shares and the revenue is a bit up. And the cash generation relative to the share price isn't horrible.
No, not at all.
And the book value as well.
Sorry, I'm just parsing over all these numbers, just trying to get myself a little bit of a base here. Obviously, margins and stuff are down right now.
Yep.
But it does look like, at least from a revenue and yeah, like you said, it looks like they've done some share repurchases. It doesn't look like they're too highly leveraged in any way.
They had positive earnings also this year.
Right. It looks like they
Short-term debt,
struggled the
17
past 2
million.
years, and now it looks better.
Yeah.
On a numbers basis, this looks pretty good right off the rip.
Yeah.
Got a small acquisition, it looks like. debt isn't crazy or anything like that.
And I saw they own 25% of the company, the insiders.
Okay, that's good. What was why did net income get hit so hard during this year? Do you know?
No, I didn't. I kind of saved it for the streams. I didn't look in depth on them.
I mean, it's COVID, so it could just be, that was a huge hamper to their business.
Oh, but hold on. Remember I talked about the shipping thing earlier?
Mm-hmm.
No, forget about it. I was thinking wrong here now. The language confused me a bit.
Okay. Looks like Clear Lake has been selling out of them. When was this? March 14th of this year. Let me close up some of this stuff. I want to make sure the stream's not slowing down or anything. Chart really bounces around.
Yeah. There's one guy who owns 17% of the shares, and then you have a multiple one who owns like between 1 and 2.5%.
Gotcha.
So this Charles guy is the biggest owner there.
You ever read anything by this guy, Michael DeMonte? I don't know him.
No, I didn't recognize any of the names. But I looked into this Steve Sacritz guy. They have a website where they he said in one of the comments that they had an update after talking with the management, but then you had to pay on his site to see the articles.
Of course.
So I didn't do that. He's saying we have had multiple updates on our site since the piece was written, having had conversation with the CFO and COO. Come see us. But then, of course, he just wants to sell his thing.
Gotcha. They're a pretty big player in the market, even though they're a smaller company. It looks like there's only one company that provides a bigger share of this.
Yeah. What do you think when you look at the chart? Right now, it can go both ways.
Yeah, I like I said, I didn't get too much from just looking at the chart. Where was that actually? I probably should have just stayed.
I thought they could only go to the right and up.
That's all charts do. I had zoomed out just because I wanted to kind of see a idea. I mean, the recent drop, the past day or so looks a little bearish, but
yeah.
Let's draw some lines. It's really important to get lines in here. So obviously some kind of support / resistance in here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is kind of converging somewhere. I would think you'd have to do. Mind you guys, I'm a complete idiot when it comes to this, so don't really look at my lines.
No, I like your lines.
Thank you.
They are very straight.
I don't know where you would pull this one in from. I guess you could start off this bottom here.
No.
But same thing. I mean, I would say this is a broadening formation. And if you pan out in the past, it's done something similar to this every time. No, don't change changes. Like it's always really up and down.
Yeah, it has been. But big moves though, when you first move, you get these spikes.
It has some pretty solid volume.
Yeah.
How many shares do they have?
I have 38 million right now.
Okay. I mean, you can see pretty clear lows around like $1.50. I mean, that's held support for a long time besides COVID.
Yeah.
Although I guess that is more recently. That's in the past probably year or two.
But I think like towards the recent bottoms, like 130, closer to 1 maybe. I mean, at 1, if you look at the cash generation, this is very attractive in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think I will add this to the tracker just now anyways, just to pay attention to how this develops. You see it's safe even. Is it safe in yours?
No, mine's levered, but only slightly because of the Z-score. It's not like it doesn't issue shares or anything.
No, exactly.
So, and that's with share buybacks, because sometimes I've seen them do share buybacks and it's still kind of levered. So it's,
yeah, okay.
But, no, I mean, just reading this article, this guy was using like adjusted EBITDA, and they're going back and forth on their calculations, but I always tend to look more at free cash flow, and they're generating it. Because that's the other thing too, is like, this guy, his whole calculation was all based off EBITDA and adjust in enterprise value and whatnot. And you can look at that compared to other companies and whatnot. But I would argue the more important thing when valuating is free cash flow. I mean, that can translate into earnings at some point.
But how does your 7-year average looks in free cash flow and operating cash flow? Because mine are positive.
Mine are positive, not drastically positive on a free cash flow basis. No. But I imagine this is a relatively capital expenditure heavy business.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a little bit lower right now, but it all depends on, if they don't have to spend a lot and it's more of a maintenance type CapEx.
Yeah, which I would assume it is.
It all depends on if they're trying to grow or not, which this guy was saying. I mean, that's the name of his article, is that they're not growing. They're just going to kind of improve operations, which I don't think they need to improve operations all that much. I think the numbers on a long-term basis just look kind of weak, just because of the fact that COVID was probably a terrible time for them. But
yeah.
This is from June, and it looks like they keep reporting decent quarters. Man, look at this, guys. I don't know what program he's using, but
yeah, I saw that. Looks a bit old, but that's the guy I told you about that has the website that you have to pay for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see that comment there. So he's dialed into this. I've never heard about him before, but maybe maybe he knows a lot of in this industry, I think.
He's saying he's got a price target of 275. But so what's this huge sell off though? What is that news?
The recent one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, to me, it's kind of crazy. Like, this went from, this kind of bottom here to another peak and then right back down. Is there an explanation for that is more my question here. Because there hasn't been anything on this. I mean, that's from 12. Let me just do Yahoo real quick and just see if there's anything that's been said. But just trying to find some news on it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, this transcript's from 2 months ago, so it's not on that. Unless that was all just like momentum. But it looks like they are doing all the right things.
Yeah, it does. But they are small, and it will have to drop a little bit more for me to get interested to like move in here, I think. But I did like the operating cash flow, and also of course that the generate free cash flow is good.
This guy brings up the point: the longer the base, the higher in space. And he says record domestic production and higher rig counts will continue to drive the need for a higher quality sand.
Yeah.
I think this is worth doing some diving into.
I saw. Did you see on Seeking Alpha on the latest news, the Q3 earnings? There are 2 comments, and Brian is saying mainly glass wonder why they haven't got into concrete, and then there's a guy answering if he questions if the margins are higher there. So I would have to look into what that is about. Maybe they are moving into some other field that maybe is a bit unusual.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into this one just because on a fundamental basis and stuff, this one's interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just gonna put
The
this in here.
52-week low is 144, and after you see it didn't really get overbought on the high just recently. So it will be interesting to see if it continues to drop a little bit, because it's not too far away from.
Yeah, I mean, on what I see
like,
and the way this looks like it's performing, and I mean, like I said, I get it. It's not as great as it has been, but with the revenues increasing and the share buybacks, that's pretty stable. It's actually down right now. This one's interesting. I kind of like S&D here.
Yeah. And you see the assets. It's solid assets.
What made you pull this one up?
I don't remember if it was the... It must have been the daily, because I see they dropped 8% yesterday, and my filter is set on 7.
I just like to see where it is and why it didn't catch my eye. This is just not on my list.
You don't have it in the entire thing, or what?
No, I don't see it. It dropped 10% a day?
8.
Oh, that's why. It just missed mine.
Yeah, I think it didn't qualify in your filter, right?
Yeah. Well, good. Thank you for pointing it out to me.
Yeah. Actually, closer to 8.5%. The drop was.
Yeah, no, it's close. Yeah, my problem is if I start to pull in too many, sometimes it just becomes a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, keep in mind I have filtered out all the biotech things.
Yeah, that is nice, because a lot of mine are just. And the other thing too is mine pulling a lot of warrants and preferred shares. I pull in all of it, and
yeah.
And the other dumb thing with me doing that too is I don't always pull that into my actual database, because I don't need to know a lot of those. I would find it really hard for me to buy preferred. There would have to be like a really compelling article or something for me to have read to see why it's valued at like that. I just don't look at preferred very often, so my chance of buying it, and plus like looking for a large return, I feel like preferred is much more of a like a passive income. You know what I mean? Like you're not expecting the share price to move drastically. It's all the dividend payments.
Yeah.
And even those are spotty usually with preferred. I feel like preferred, the dividend payments usually are. It's not often.
No,
it's not guaranteed. That's the other thing that sucks is it's not even guaranteed.
That's something I like. Maybe not exactly with the preferreds, but warrants and stuff like that. With Y sheets, when you use the Y sheets add-on and you search for the ticker, it also shows up like the same ticker, just a W after, so you immediately see that they have warrants, for example.
Right.
So I don't need to have that information in the sheet, you know.
It looks like they have a lot due next or this year.
Yeah, the 17 in the short-term debt I have as a number, and 45 at total current liabilities.
So, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll push it back. How much cash do they have?
6 I have in excess cash.
Yeah, so they don't have a ton of excess cash. So they might have to kind of rework some of that. We'll see what happens with that. That could possibly be a negative.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It could just be covered. I mean, they are generating net income. And if we can get back to anything in here, I mean, look at in 2019 and you know, even down here, you got 34, 26, 43. You know, the minus 41. That's the year that it got a little ugly. But it does look like people are kind of back and forth on this one, you know, with the share counts and the chart looking how it looks.
Yeah. Have you looked at their the website?
No, that's all of it is. Like I said, I'm gonna go through everything on this one at some point.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna add it to the tracker as well. But I had another ticker too.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I got these listed in my thing, so I'll go through those. I'm not gonna, because I do got to get out of here soon. But what's the last one?
Yeah. No, that's what I asked because I found the website a bit. I don't know if that's the correct one, but I think it is.
Yeah, I think this is right.
Yeah.
Is this the same one that I'm looking at?
Yeah,
I'm pulling up the investor website or the investor's presentation right now, but
yeah, it is this one, right?
yeah, they're digging sand over here. They're playing in the sand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave all this up because I'll probably read through all this.
Yeah.
All right, and then so what was the last ticker?
No, it was SWN, Southwestern Energy.
SW.
N. That's a bit high in the market cap, and it also trades close to the 52-week high. So maybe it's not so interesting.
Yeah, it's a little pricey for me in terms of market cap.
Yeah. But it was up yesterday, 7%.
You know, the other one that is definitely interesting me lately is Amplify Energy, AMPY. I keep looking at them. Even though they're bigger, they're like just on the cusp. Like this is about as big as I would look at, but I still think there is room to move for something like this.
You mean the SWN?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same. That it was almost not interested, but barely because of the market cap. But I did like things on the fundamentals, and look at the earnings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the revenues last year, did they buy or sell something? Why are these so high?
They had an acquisition last year in my sheet.
Yeah, I have 2 acquisitions.
Oh yeah, maybe 2. Yeah.
But well, in the past 2 years. But either way, I mean, this is an insane jump here. They did issue a ton of shares though.
Yeah.
So.
And do you have a big drop in revenue from last year?
Yeah, it's back down to a much more reasonable number.
Yeah.
I mean, and by reasonable, it's still very high comparatively. I mean, we're
still
talking
very high, yeah.
4 times what it was in 2020.
And if you look at the chart since March, this is not since the market moved in October, November, but since March, this looks very, very good on the chart.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll definitely look into this one as well.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I do got to get going. So what I'll do is sometime later this over the weekend here, I'll get through these 2. Send you if I see anything, and then when I go over on my stuff on Tuesday, I'll talk more about these ones. So all the guys streaming can see what our conclusion was on these 2.
Yeah.
Anything else
Sounds
you got
good.
to add?
No, it's good. I think we have gone through a lot of tickers, even though the market didn't move so much this week. So I think it was good.
Yeah, well, actually, some of the smaller names I've been looking at have been moving a lot. Barnes and Noble's Education was really on the move.
Oh yeah.
You know, what was some of the other names? There's a few that I've been kind of tracking recently, and actually, and I know some of the smaller cap stuff tends to move in January, so
yeah,
we'll have to see what comes of all this, but somewhat bullish. We'll see what shipping continues to do, and then a lot of stuff with energy. I feel like there's always stuff with energy. It's a cyclical. It tends to be where you're going to find some of these bigger returns, especially in some of these smaller companies that the price can fluctuate so much.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Oh, well, good. We see you on Tuesday then.
Yeah, I should be on Tuesday. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Just drinking water, guys. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Have a nice day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.